The family next door to me is very, very sad. From picture plays has got this race a jolly chap.
Living in an era in which new movies are released almost every 2 weeks in theaters or on streaming services, it's easy to forget that many filmmakers dedicated their lives to creating new filmmaking techniques, which inadvertently led to the establishment of many techniques used by filmmakers today.
Mr. Hitchcock, why do you always make mystery films?
Well, life is a big mystery, isn't it?
As aspiring filmmakers, we believe that it is important to honor past independent filmmakers who paved the way for those techniques to become part of the conventions of Hollywood.
And nicely when the family talks aloud, they all do the Charlie Chaplin walk.
Charles Spencer Chaplin was born in London on April 16, 1889. Due to their father's death and their mother's illness, Chaplin and his brother Sidney were forced to provide for themselves at an early age. At around the age of 14, Chaplin obtained the opportunity to act in a legitimate stage show. He eventually became a comedian, which gave him the opportunity to come to the United States. In 1913, he signed with the Mutual Film Corporation, which offered him 12 two-reel comedies. In 1914, Chaplin appeared in the film Making a Living, which marked his film debut. Although he enjoyed acting, he also enjoyed making decisions. As a result, he made his directing and producing debut in 1914 with the film 20 Minutes of Love. Chaplin was never a fan of authority nor of schedules. As a result, when his contract with Mutual ended, Chaplin decided to become an independent filmmaker in 1918. This allowed him to have more artistic freedom and greater leisure in his films. A year later, in 1919, Chaplin, along with Douglas Fairbanks, Mary Pickford, and D.W. Griffith, established their own independent film studio by the name of United Artists. United Artists was meant to help other small independent filmmakers have an opportunity to distribute their films.
Never fail to make the prisoners laugh. They show them Charlie Chaplin in the cinematograph, and every time the convicts and the guards
With the use of mise-en-scene and his brilliant creation of slapstick comedy, many of Chaplin's works were constantly producing enjoyment. His techniques were precise, as was his editing. Chaplin would use the art of mime in his techniques, and that showed during any major slapstick scenes. Whenever Chaplin would duke it out with his rival in the pawn shop, he would often use excessive violence, hence slapstick. However, if you watch closely, all of the combat is done through mime. This isn't the only time mime comes into play, however. Whenever the latter is involved, or especially when he has trouble with the extremely dense cookie, are also very good examples of his use of mime. Another technique that even artists of today should strive for are numerous amounts of shots, so that when editing rolls around it can become seamless. Many of Chaplin's films, including The Pawn Shop, have been edited seamlessly to flow with the characters' movements as well as the cameras as if they are united as one. A lot of static shots are in his work, as they can be easier to film than moving shots. He pieces together both these static and moving shots with extreme precision so that it can be added to the flow of his pieces. Framing of shots and the type of shots he used played a very important part of uniting the camera and actors as well. Chaplin would constantly look at the camera as if he were breaking the fourth wall, staring directly at the audience. This played into effect well, especially during scenes that he would really want people to pay attention to. Chaplin is also one to roll with the punches. If he can find humor in a mishap, then might as well keep it in, right? Although Chaplin's work is inspirational, Chaplin himself lived a very controversial life. According to records, Chaplin often had sexual relations and even married young women who were under the age of consent. Additionally, in 1945, F.X. Finney wrote to Senator William Langer that he should put forward a bill, Bill S-536, which called for the Attorney General to investigate and determine whether Chaplin should be deported due to his constant law-breaking, continuous rape accusations, and the debauching of American girls that were 16 and 17 years of age. Chaplin actively participates in U.S. politics by encouraging people to sell war bonds and by advocating the New Deal programs in 1933. Unfortunately, Chaplin grew to be associated with pro-Nazi belief. Furthermore, in 1947, he was denounced by the House of Un-American Activities Committee. As a result, his popularity quickly decreased, which resulted in his film Monsieur Veldeau to be critically attacked and a box office failure. In modern times, men are being fed by machines. These machines malfunction and will eventually spill soup on the subject. In all seriousness, thousands of people online, in person, in media praised a man named Charlie Chaplin. Makeup tutorials, theories, renditions of his works are all around the world. But what makes this man so famous, so outstanding? It's his skills as a comedian and as a person. While slapstick comedy has been around as far back as Shakespeare, the one who brought it everywhere was Chaplin. That wasn't all he impacted the world by, however. Charlie Chaplin was the man to inspire Marcel Marceau, who developed pantomime. Pantomime is used in many of Chaplin's films, as stated earlier, and he is technically also the man who brought it to our attention today. Back to slapstick comedy, when you think of slapstick, you think of Chaplin. But you also think of thousands of movies and TV shows that have been produced since he's been relevant. Think The Three Stooges, and Jim Carrey just as a human being. Chaplin was praised for his comedy, but he was also praised for being a real man. He went through extreme days and nights and combated that with the comedy we know and love today. He is an inspiration, not only in comedy sense, but also an inspiration as a person that no matter how many times you fall, if you keep getting back up, somebody will listen, and that you're valid. There are many, many real people, but he shaped his pain into something that people could enjoy, and he too could enjoy.
The family next door to me is very, very sad. From picture plays has got this face, a Charlie Chaplin man. The youngest son, he sports for fun, a Charlie Chaplin cane, and wears a funny-looking bowler on his little brain. They're absolutely dotty, there's no doubt, and nicely when the family talks aloud. They all do the Charlie Chaplin walk. The Charlie Chaplin walk is all the talk. From London town to far New York, everybody's doing it. The girls go to see him every night, and they all think he's a treat. And the only thing they ever dream about the Charlie Chaplin feat. They all do the Charlie Chaplin walk. The Charlie Chaplin walk is all the talk. From London town to far New